Hey there, fans of the Survivor Super Fun Time Show. This is Kevin from the Survivor Super Fun Time Show, and today we're doing our weekly recap of Survivor 45. And this past episode was episode 7. This was a big one for a couple of reasons, but the biggest one is there was a double elimination, which is usually one each season where we see that happen. This time, the tribes are already merged, coming off the reeling tribal council where Caleb saved himself with a miraculous shot in the dark. And Maya, unfortunately, the gorgeous, wonderful Maya, ended up being sent packing. Now, instead, we go through the whole episode, there's a lot of back and forth, but the biggest thing, it leads up to 2 separate tribal councils. And that is all precipitated by an immunity challenge where 2 people leave with immunity. It's the classic hold on to the pole as long as you can until you fall and hit the floor, unless your name is D, with the giant toe that ends up keeping you up on the pole for a really long time. And that's what the challenge was. And, not to be too spoiler, even though I just told you, going into this challenge, I knew right away it was probably going to be a handful of people that are going to be really good at it. D was going to be one of them, and also Kelly was going to be one of them. And wouldn't you know it, they're the ones that want immunity in that challenge. But the special twist of it is like kind of in the past where they split you up going into 2 separate tribal councils. One is going to go first, then followed by the other. We hear the discouraging news that the first group is going to go, and whoever's voted out of the first group is not going to make the jury. So that's a bad time. And obviously you don't want to be that person. And the winning group, whoever gets voted out gets to be on the jury. Also, that group is going to get food, which is great. So there's a lot of incentive for the eventual 2 final people from each tribe to square off against one another to ultimately win. Again, the winning tribe itself is actually the one that was associated with D. D won immunity for her team and won the food, which is pretty huge. There was that big D energy when she's like, listen, we're gonna eat. And then she was right. They won and they ate food, which is absolutely wonderful to watch. But they had the interesting dynamics of the 2 tribal councils that I think are really worth getting into. Now, before we get totally into the tribal council itself, knowing that everyone had to go and that Dee and Kelly were immune, it's important to think about the dynamics of the previous tribal council where Caleb almost was voted out, but Maya ultimately went, even though it was a unanimous vote against Caleb initially. He has 1 or 2 maybe real alliance members, and I say that very loosely, in Emily and Keturah. Now, moving forward, you're like, okay, who are the next targets going to be? And throughout the whole episode, it was basically everyone just basically crapping on Bruce. Because once again, people seem to not really like Bruce that much. He's doing the uncle thing way too much and it's bugging people. Particularly Kendra is getting annoyed. Kelly is getting annoyed, but Kelly is keeping it together in a much better way. And the ever obvious Keturah is really not feeling Bruce at all. A lot of people aren't. But what's fascinating is, for myself, as someone who's a fan of Bruce and who thinks he's probably going to win the game, although the edit is telling me he's not, we'll see. I'm still staying a little stand pat with that. But what's terribly interesting is his reads of what are going on in the game. I think he's actually doing a really good job. He seems to understand what chess pieces are moving where. He just can't stop himself from talking in ways that annoy people, which is a special skill in itself. Caleb said he had the worst Survivor conversation of the game with Bruce because Bruce was, I guess, telling him too much what to do. I think he means well, but it's hurting his game. But he does have hidden immunity idol. Pretty much everybody knows it at this point, and I think that helps him sleep a little bit more soundly at night. And I hope it does. I hope he lasts a really long time. Now, the dynamic of the Blue Tribe was, I thought, really interesting because you had some former Bello, and you had Kendra, you had Drew, you had Emily, you had Bruce, and you had Sifu. But a lot of the chatter leading up to it was Kendra and Kelly saying, should we axe Bruce? Because he seems to be the obvious one to get rid of at this point. And on the Red Tribe, we had a different lineup here, where we had Austin, we had Dee, we had Caleb, we had Mama Julie, then we had Jake, and we had Keturah. And this was a separate 6 that was very Reba heavy. The Blue Tribe pretty much wanted to get rid of Bruce, but thankfully, and this is where I give Kelly all the credit in the world, and I believe that she's playing a winning game, she talks to Kendra. She's like, listen, we cannot get rid of Bruce, even though it makes a lot of sense, because he's a wonderful shield for us. And she's finding a way to bridge a gap between Kendra and, well, really everyone else actually, and Bruce in order to move forward in the game. Because Bruce has been very consistent in what we've seen on the show, in that Kelly is his ride or die. It's his number 1. He has no interest in targeting Kelly anytime soon. So why should Kelly, even though he's annoying her, have any interest in getting rid of Bruce? he's going to be a permanent target essentially for everyone else out there. So Kelly is doing an awesome job by making sure that she can compromise on these small little feelings, which can add up over time in the game, and see the big picture and keep Bruce around. Because again, even though he's annoying, he is not a number against her. He's a number for Kelly. So keep it rolling, right? And then they go to tribal council, and ultimately Sifu was the one who was voted out first of the 2 votes. Sadly, an awesome seeming guy. Looks like he can shred the guitar like nobody's business, and especially the air machete guitar. It's sad that he didn't get to be part of the game any longer. He kind of got like half purpled. So, I mean, I'm excited. He's someone I think I would love outside of the game, but inside the game, sadly, you didn't get to see much from him. The only thing I never really understood was he faked having a hidden immunity idol. And for some reason, people who knew that Austin had the idol on Reba still thought maybe he had one. So, I mean, he duped people into thinking he may have one. So, I mean, I guess credit to him. But that's probably the biggest thing I'm going to remember about Sifu's game. Other than, you know, people really butchering his name when they wrote it down at Tribal Council. But at insult to injury. And that means Bruce gets to continue on in the game. No idol flush, nothing. It looks like people are just going to move forward with Bruce. And that makes me very happy as someone who thinks Bruce is going to go really far in the game, even if the edit doesn't look like he will. And the Red Tribal Council was the next one, which I thought was really interesting because, you know, leading up to it, there's a lot of conversation about taking down one of Reba. The biggest one in particular being Jake. He didn't want to feel like a sitting duck. He concocts his plan to work with Caleb, and Caleb needs anything he can get. The dude was just voted against unanimously. Jake's like, listen, Caleb, I want to keep you in the game. You're a shield. Well, he kept that in his head, but that's what he was saying to himself. He said, I have a cockamamie plan where me and you roll together, and we get Katura, and she rolls with us, and we tie. And Austin is going to be a scared little baby upon revote. He's not going to go to rocks. We will. And then we're going to vote out Mama J. In real practice, that didn't happen. But part of the way they tried to influence Katsura to be on board with this rock drawing scenario, instead of comfort her, was confirm to her that she was on the outs the whole time with old Lulu and Bello. You were confirming that she's alienated this whole time. It's like, listen, we didn't need you before, but we need you now. So I'm going to tell you all the stuff we've been lying to you about to protect your mortal enemy in this game. Bruce, I bet you feel so much better now. No! Of course, to get to Tribal Council, Katura does not vote with them. Caleb gets sent home. And how could anyone blame Katura? I've never been a bigger fan of Katura than this vote. Because Katura did what she needed to do to move forward. She knows that that alliance wasn't supporting her. She was on the bottom of it. Yeah, Bruce may still be her enemy. This isn't in favor of Bruce. Caleb would be a great person to keep around as a shield, I guess. But there are other shields. Austin needs to be taken out. Drew needs to be taken out. Bruce needs to be taken out. You don't need Caleb in that soup either to make it tasty, okay? Katura made the right move. I'm a bigger fan of Katura's now after that Tribal Council. Caleb, I loved you, buddy. I really hope you get to play again one day. But it's clear there wasn't long for you in this game because you're just too good. Everyone recognized it right away. Hopefully for Caleb, if he has any shot to win a game, it's going to be kind of like Jeremy in Cambodia Second Chances. He needs to be swimming in a pool with a bunch of other sharks similarly sized as him in order to win the game, in my opinion. If he goes up against a random fresh batch, he's always going to stick out as superior socially. But in the end, I want to say I think it was another excellent episode. I like the split tribal councils. I don't think it's the fairest thing in the world. I mean, last season, Matt B pretty much got kicked out of the game because of the split tribal council, and he forgot his bag, which is not helpful. This time around, Drew contemplated using his safety without power advantage, but he couldn't because he left his bag back at camp, and the tribe that lost had to go back to old Lulu, and that was his tribe, so he didn't have his bag, which means he did not have his safety without power and could not use it. So he could have been voted out of the game without even having the chance to use it. Thankfully for himself, his Napoleon Dynamite looking self got to stay and use it another day. But moving forward, I do kind of a power rankings of who I think is going to win the game and week to week who's looking the strongest. Austin has been at the top the entire game. Since episode 1, Austin has not moved a single spot. However, 2 through 3 through 4, it's all been shifting quite a bit. Right now, a lot of people are looking pretty good. Bruce was really high. I think he's fallen a little bit. Dee is super high. She's in the 3rd slot. And Kelly is in the number 2 spot because I believe she's in the perfect position. However, if she starts winning enough immunity challenges and she starts making herself a bigger threat, It's going to be a problem. At this point, I'm seeing Katura go pretty soon, but I've been saying that for like 3 episodes. And I really enjoy that Katura is defying me. I think that Kelly could overplay her hand, and that could be the victim of Bruce's idol. But the preview for next week or in a day or so is going to be the Survivor auction. That's a big deal. People love the Survivor auction. I miss it greatly. Some of my favorite things that have happened over the years is in the Survivor auction. Can't wait to see it all unfold. I, like everyone else, I'm rooting for Emily. I can't wait for Emily to get close to the end. I think there's no reason why Emily Flippin will be taken out of the game anytime soon. Expect to see her in the final 3 at this point, and I am so happy for her because she is one of my goofiest, favoriteest characters of all time. She is very well on her way to being completely iconic as a Survivor player. But that's going to do it for the video. Let me know what you liked from this past episode, what you're thinking moving forward in the game, and if there's any castaways from the new era that you think would be great for me to reach out to do a recap with in the future. Others, hope you have an amazing day, everybody. You take care, and remember, the tribe has spoken.